Hello, welcome back to Survival Saturday with Johnny Tiger. The date is Saturday, August 9th, 2020. We are here to continue our look at differences between self-defense and martial art. One of my earliest fight, earliest match that is very clear in my memory. This was when I was about 16 and I was fighting in a sort of a underground tournament. Now, when I say underground, I don't mean what you guys think, like in Bloodsport, or like people pull out a knife and then you have to kill your opponent dead or stuff like Gladiator or stuff like that. Nothing that dramatic, okay? It was like a bunch of hoodlums, a bunch of gangbangers, uh, meeting up in someone's basement, and then they get a cage or just a marked area, a ring marked out, and then people who felt like it go in there and make a name for themselves, and then other people could gamble on who would win. Uh, it was not like fight to the death, at least not all the time. I remember that match that I was up against this Italian gentleman. I still remember his name. His name was Tay. I think it was like Tye or Tey, something like that. Can't remember his last name. It was something really long and convoluted that no one could ever pronounce. He was a couple of years older than me, so he was like 18 or 19. Uh, very very strong. He's one of those weightlifting guys that also did some boxing and wrestling, and just all around very strong, very fast, and quite skilled at what he did. And I remember the end of that match. Tay, after exchanging strikes with me for about 2 or 3 minutes, he rushed me and grabbed me in a bear hug and throw me down to the ground, and he basically pinned me down to the ground. And he was so much stronger than me, and he was in much better shape, and he was a little bit bigger than I was. So I couldn't get him off of me. Um, and while he was pinning me there, he raised up his fist like he was going to strike me in the face, like he was going to start doing the ground and pound stuff on me. As soon as he did that, as soon as he raised up his fist, my hand went like this. I didn't get him off of me, but what I did was I make a V on my thumb and forefinger. I tapped him on the throat, and then I turned my wrist, my thumb touched him on the eyelid, and then I snaked my arm through, wrapped around the back of his head, and cupped the back of his head. And then, rather than hitting me like he was planning on, he just put his hand back on my shoulder and pinned me until count of 10, and he was declared the winner. Now, most people watching that fight would have missed that little, what I would call the truth of warriors, the little exchange right there. But afterward, when I shook his hand, I said, really well fought. He leaned into me and he said, yeah, I want to thank you. Uh, I know that if we're doing this for real, you would have either blinded me or killed me. And I just nodded and walked off. went back to my own group. Why did he raise his fist to strike me and then change his mind? Because he realized one thing. When I did what I did, touch his throat, touch his eye, cuff the back of his head, he realized that if he was to strike me, I would drive my hand through his trachea, I would drive my thumb through his eye, and then I would reach around, cuff the back of his head, and probably break his neck. He realized at that moment that the reason I wasn't doing any of these things is because I was playing by the sport, the sporting rule. But if he offended me, if he angered me by going for the ground and pound when he already had a good pin on me, then we might not be going by the sporting rule anymore. And that instant was very clear in my mind because even back then when I was a teenager, I knew there's a difference between martial arts and self-defense, and I knew to communicate that. Even to this day, very often, if you guys was to watch me in a sparring match or tournament match or any kind of match, quite often you'll see me do something that look like it doesn't make sense. Why did I just touch the side of the person's neck when I pass them? I'm showing that if I can pass you so close that I can brush the side of your neck or pass my hand before your eye, I could do a lot more if I wanted to. It's partly for my opponent's benefit, for them to know they need to watch out. There's a weakness in their defense. And also to remind myself that there are a lot of options that I could employ if push come to shove. Today we'll be talking about grappling while standing up. Next episode, we'll be talking about going to the ground. When it comes to grappling in self-defense, there's 8 items, 8 things that you don't want to do, and it's worthwhile keeping in mind. Item number 1, don't lose track of their head. Now that one sounds a little bit strange, but let me show you guys. Let's say I am grappling with this guy. Okay, let's say that this guy's grabbing me and I'm struggling against him, and I start thinking that this is some kind of game. I lose track of where his head is. Suddenly, he's headbutting me right in the nose. My world flash red. I get disoriented. My nose is broken. My cheekbone may be broken because of the headbutt. Or maybe he might even pull a Mike Tyson. He may suddenly lunge forward and bite me. Right? I need to know. I need to pay attention where this guy's head is at all times. Let me tell you guys, at one time when I was sparring against one of my longtime sparring partners, we were exchanging punches, and because I knew the guy was very good at headbutting, I was paying close attention to keeping my distance from his head. Okay, even when I going in for close range, I was trying to keep leaning away from his headbutt until at one point where I executed a pass and grab. What's a pass and grab? He threw a punch, I brushed, I intersected his arm, I stepped past him, ready to cut the back of his neck and clothesline him in the throat. I stepped to the side, I, I was thinking that I would be safe from the side. I was right beside him, my shoulder against his, and he whipped his head right into me. His head right into my temple. And I kid you not, I just dropped down to one knee. All I could see was stars for like 5 seconds. So do not lose track of the person's head. Number two, don't lose track of the person's arm. This one should be even more obvious. Let's say we're grappling, we're struggling with each other, we're stumbling back and forth, and he gets me in a big bear hug. He loses track of my arm, okay? He's busy trying to choke me, he's busy trying to throw me, and suddenly there's a knife in his gut. And from here, okay, from this close, there's nothing he can do. From this close, if I suddenly whip out a knife or even a screwdriver or a tactical pen, he's going to hospital or the morgue. From here, there's nowhere for him to go. So when you're grappling in a self-defense situation, no matter what kind of fancy throws, fancy uh, executions, fancy techniques you have, pay attention to where the person's arms are. Just because you get a fancy headlock on doesn't mean that you got the upper hand, okay? The person's outer hand may be sneaking behind him to come up with a weapon. Point number three, don't lose track of your surroundings. My father was a quite accomplished judoka, which means he was a second degree black belt in judo. He knew how to throw people. He knew how to not get thrown. But every single time in his life that he got into a physical altercation on the street, he always ended up falling down because he either slipped or he tripped over something because he was so confident in that he knew his techniques that he wasn't paying attention to maybe there's a footstool behind him, or maybe there's a uneven part of the sidewalk, or maybe he's very close to the curb. So as soon as he go into his fancy technique, his foot step off the curb and down he goes. That's my father's life story right there. This badass and very accomplished judoka. Every single time he got into a fight, he tripped over something. Always remember that you're not in a dojo or you're not in a evenly paved, brightly lit area. At least most of the time when you're defending yourself, you wouldn't be in such an area. You might be in your bedroom, you might be in your living room, you might be in your kitchen, which there's tables and chairs and things that during the struggle things get knocked over. You may step on something and slip, or you may be on the street where the benches, garbage cans, whatever that might be on the ground. So pay attention. Just because you're executing some interesting throw doesn't mean that your feet won't suddenly go out from under you if you don't pay attention, if you lose track of your surroundings. Number four, don't lose track of their friends. Again, yes, a self-defense situation, don't ever assume that they are alone. Maybe the fight start out with them and you one on one. That's pretty cool. But you don't know if the cousin or brother is going to suddenly show up. Maybe the cousin just stepped outside to buy a pack of cigarettes. Maybe a friend were coming to pick them up, or maybe, just maybe, they had 3 or 4 friends waiting nearby to watch how they can fight you. And a minute that you look like you're winning, those people jump in. So don't lose track of their friend, especially when you're grappling. When you're striking, not too bad. When you're striking, you have kind of a bit of a leeway. You have room to maneuver. If people start coming at you, you can step out of the way, step away. You can start trying to look for a way to run. When you're this close, you're grappling, they're choking you, you're choking them, you're staggering all over the place, try not to fall down. Suddenly, you turn and you see the friend coming towards you with a baseball bat. Well, what are you going to do? You let go of him, he throws you to the ground. You stay here, their friend hits you on the head. Okay? So do not lose track of their friend. Number 5, don't mistaken this to be some kind of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, UFC, or any kind of legal martial art tournament with rules. We talked about this before. If you assume that there are rules, then you are going to be surprised when the person does something that is outside the rule set that you expect. If we are in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament or MMA tournament, and the person come in and try to grab me and take me to the ground, my options are kind of limited, right? I can either punch him in the face or try to knee him, but I can't knee him in the groin. I'm going to lose a point. Uh, I can try to pull off some technique to evade that. I have to look good. I have to worry about points, right? But, and this is why uh, most people who competed or fought me in self-defense style, Krav Maga style matches will say, even some of these people that were uh, high-level judo people, high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu people, high-level MMA people, they'll say that Johnny Tiger, Johnny Tai, very hard to take down to the ground. Why? Because I don't go by their rule. If this is a Krav Maga or self-defense scenario, you try to take me to the ground, you come in and rush me. The first thing I'm going to do is drive my thumb into your face, into your eyes, and then hit you in the throat and go down, hit you in the groin, and then just clasp you around the waist so you can't throw me anywhere, right? You try to come in low to grab my leg, I'm going to drive my bicep right into your face and then elbow you right in the face. You try to come in even lower to grab my knee, I'm going to hammer you right on the back of your neck. A lot of these are illegal moves in most martial art tournaments or matches, but not for me. Not when you are doing Krav Maga. Not when we are talking about self-defense. You want to grab me? I'm not going to let you take me down to the ground, no matter what I have to do. So point number 5, don't mistaken this to be some kind of game or martial arts championship. Number 6, don't voluntarily take the fight to the ground. unless you have no other choice. I don't care what kind of high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu you might be, or what kind of high-level MMA guy you might be. If you're down there on the ground, try to execute some fancy arm lock, arm bar, twisting this way, bending that way, rear naked choke, anaconda choke, Gamora, whatever you have, whatever you got. There's hundreds of these moves. I'm sure a lot of you know a lot of them. But no matter how good you are on the ground, you might be the best on the ground. But while you're down there, if the aforementioned friend, remember those friends? The friends you lost track of when you go to the ground? Suddenly show up with steel toe boots and start stomping. You are going to lose. You won't even make it back to your feet. Also, it's very hard to run away when you're on the ground. So unless you have no choice whatsoever, don't voluntarily go to the ground. Number 7, don't fight force with force. What do I mean by don't fight force with force? This will sound a little bit like I'm contradicting myself, but if the person come in and rush you and grab you and try to throw you down to the ground, you probably want to think about just let him throw you. Go with it, and then maybe pull out your self-defense tool on the way down, or maneuver for a better position. Because if you stand here and try to fight the guy, trying to wrestle the guy by brute force, look, if if this guy is confident enough to come in to grab me, to want to take me down, most likely he is stronger than me. Most likely he is better than me at this game. So by me staying here, fighting brute force with brute force, I am breaking one of the earlier self-defense no-nos. Don't play their game. So if the person rushes you and there's no way for you to step away or no way for you to extract yourself quickly, let them take you down and then think of, okay, now how do I get back onto my feet? How do I get an advantage? How do I disable them? Okay? Last but not least, don't underestimate the usefulness of whatever they're wearing. Don't underestimate the usefulness of clothes. I remember one of my friends and students told me that he said he got into a road rage situation, and he got out of his car. The guy got out of his car. The two of them started cussing at each other, and the guy went to his trunk and pulled out a baseball bat and came at my friend. And when the guy swung his baseball bat, my friend instinctively stepped in and caught the baseball bat under his arm. But because at that time my friend wasn't trained, he didn't know how to fight from here. So the two of them standing there in the middle of the road, swaying back and forth, try to grab the baseball bat from each other, they try to throw each other to the ground. And my friend reached up, took the glasses off the guy's face, and suddenly the guy just lost all interest in fighting. He dropped the baseball bat, apologized, asked for his glasses back, went on his way. Okay, so when you're in a conflict, again, this is not MMA, this is not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Judo. If I know there's an advantage in grabbing the guy's belt to secure myself, I'm going to grab the guy's belt. If I think I can choke him by grabbing his shirt, I'm going to grab his shirt. If I think I can restrain him from hitting me by holding onto his sleeve, I'm going to hold onto his sleeve. If I think I can take his glasses off his face and shove it right back into his eye, I'm going to do that. Don't underestimate what's there for you to use that the person's already wearing on their body or on their head or on their face. So, quick recap. The 8 don'ts in grappling in self-defense. Don't lose track of their head. Don't lose track of their arms or hand. Don't lose track of your surrounding. Don't lose track of their friend. Don't assume this is some kind of game or MMA match. Don't voluntarily go to the ground. Don't fight force with force, and don't underestimate the usefulness of whatever they are wearing. Like I said, next self-defense segment, we'll come back and talk about what happens when you actually do go to the ground and have to grapple on the ground. For now, thank you for checking out today's Survival Saturday. Stay safe this weekend. We'll be back again tomorrow for Soul Search Sunday. Have a good night.